Did you guys want to hear me talk today or just have no audio? That's fun. There you go. No, not lousy audio. No audio. Okay. Here's what's coming up on this Wednesday, February 25th, 2026. There you go. I sabotage myself. I do it to myself. No one to blame but myself. But, maybe that's actually kind of symbolic for last night's State of the Union, because that's what I was talking about. Would you guys rather just no audio? I'll just sit up here and just flap my gums. You guys can just stare at me. Some of you might like that. That's kind of the State of the Union, though. It was long. No, there's one thing that I'm looking back at it from last night and kind of looking at it differently. It wasn't that bad. I think Trump had to make it the longest one ever. He had to make it the longest one ever. He wanted to make sure that he got that record. So he did last night. We predicted that. We predicted a lot of the stuff that would happen, but it was mostly predictable. Didn't really move the needle, I think, any direction. The normal cheerleaders, pom-pom wavers, they're telling you it's the greatest thing ever. But there's one thing that sticks out, and it's going to get into some of the foreign policy discussion and news we have for today. We do have some foreign policy stuff, some geopolitical stuff. Other than that, though, I'm not really too interested in it from last night. So there'll be a couple mentions, but it's about the overall attitude. We are going to get into a little deeper today, this AI issue. We're going to talk about it. There's a lot of it in the news today. This issue with the data centers is starting to become a nationwide issue. President Trump is about to address this actually next week at the White House. So we'll bring all that to you. And then we've got more signs of where the Democrats are going. We've got more signs of where the Democrats are going as far as the midterms. And people can point out the hypocrisies. They can point out whatever they want about the crazy left. It won't matter. You have to understand how politics works. It's very superficial. It's very surface level. It's very drive-by media. Homage to the great Rush Limbaugh. It's very drive-by media. So most people don't really understand the depth of it. They just see it. They say, I like that. I'm going to go vote for that. And the Democrats have mastered this over the years. We finally had an in-depth movement with MAGA, but that's pretty much all destroyed now. So we'll kind of look at that. Yeah, a lot of geopolitical, a lot of foreign policy stuff. We've got Levin, Shapiro, Netanyahu, all aiming the Israel propaganda at you as heavy as ever. As heavy as ever. I told you about the digital influence campaign against Candace Owens. Now it's gone massively viral. So we'll look at that. We'll look at where that's at. We'll look at some other weirdness going on as far as the digital influence campaigns are concerned. And then I got, at the end of the show today, we just got some, some weirdness, you might say. There's something I'm a little confused about. It's got a little bit of an Olympics tie to it.
This news update was brought to you by OwenSchroyer.store, the official site for Owen Report merchandise.
Guys, what have you done for emergency food supplies? What have you done? Have you done anything at all? If the answer is no, then you're going to want to listen to this. This is as good as it's going to get as far as starting an emergency food supply for your house right here from our friends at My Patriot Supply and preparewithowen.com. It's their 3-month food supply kit. And right now, for this audience, $100 off at preparewithowen.com. Or as you can see on the screen, there's a barcode right there. You scan that barcode, it'll take you right to this exclusive offer for my listening audience. We all see it. The world getting more unstable and chaotic every day. It's a big story today about AI, talking about how things are going to end in this current trajectory. 95% of models say nuclear war. Well, let's hope not. But if it all breaks down, don't you want to have insurance you can eat? You got insurance for everything else. What about insurance you can eat? That's where My Patriot Supply comes in. And this is why I've partnered with My Patriot Supply. They've helped millions of Americans get prepared, and they have over 90,000 five-star reviews. This is the best 3-month emergency food supply offer you're going to find. Highest quality food, highest quality containers also, by the way. It comes ready to be stored. $100 off for my audience at preparewithowen.com. This food kit gives you 2,000 calories a day, lasts up to 25 years, and right now, $100 off for a limited time. Preparewithowen.com. Take advantage of this offer while it's alive. Check off that box for emergency food supplies if you haven't done it, or if you just want to get a little more, this is the time. $100 off the 3-month emergency food supply kit for this audience at preparewithowen.com.
Turn my system on.
On the cutting edge of news and analysis, the Owen Report with Owen Schroyer.
Guys, is it time for the when are we getting that Fort Knox audit? Are we getting that still? Is that happening? I'm just curious. Are we getting that? How many rounds of Iran strikes are we going to get before a Fort Knox audit? Is it funny or is it gallows humor? Are we laughing at us or with us? My Lord. Okay. All right. Yeah, nothing last night on the Doge cuts. Yeah. No, I'm looking back on it last night. I would say, it wasn't that bad. It was more neutral, I would say. But that's to somebody that's like you in this audience or me, that's really politically informed, really politically, into the weeds every day. And I'd say it was mostly neutral. I mean, you can talk about some of the gaslighting that was in there, but whatever. This is politics. It's filled with liars and scum and propaganda. So, okay. All things considered, it was kind of neutral. There were some cool moments. I do want to say this. I pulled this picture up. Maybe you guys noticed this too. They brought out the George Washington gavel. I guess this was the original gavel from 250 years ago. I mean, that is cool. That is cool. If you're a sucker for history, if you're a sucker for museums, like I am, that is cool. That is definitely cool. Do they have that on display somewhere? I wonder if you can actually go see that. I've been to a few of the museums in DC. It does have good museum culture there. I've never seen that. The craftsmanship, I mean, look at that. That is nice. From the 1770s, man. Look at that. I kind of halfway expected Trump to shatter that glass and pound that thing on the desk just for fun himself. Why not? So that was kind of cool. That was a cool thing that they had out there. It's okay. It's okay to find the good things, the positive things. No, but I'm looking back on it today. I'm unmoved, really. I'm unmoved. There was a lot of, it wasn't as ego driven. I think it wasn't as narcissistic as we may have anticipated. It didn't get, and maybe some people wanted it to get more punchy at the Democrats, but it was probably enough. The couple moments that they had where they didn't stand and Trump called them out. Like, okay. And I definitely think the biggest thing on Trump's mind was, I'm going to make this the longest State of the Union ever. I'm just going to go ahead and claim that record. He broke Bill Clinton's record. Bill Clinton, when he was 52 years old, went for an hour 28. Trump last night, I think the final number was like an hour 48. It was just shy of 2 hours, whatever the final number was. So he beat it by a long shot. I don't know if anybody's going to be interested in going for 2 hours to take that record from Trump. So I definitely think that was the mindset. But overall, nothing too moving for me. Kind of just the same slop that Trump has been serving up for months now. I did my post-game breakdown last night. I don't want to get back into those notes. I don't think it's worth it. Now, I do have a statement from this morning that I think kind of encapsulates where we're all at, from Brooke Rollins, who went on Fox Business. But here's kind of my takeaway in the aftermath of it. And it was kind of like he started to drone on and like grind us to sleep, that we kind of missed it. I'm not against the ceremony of it. I don't think that's really too traditional as far as State of the Unions are concerned. It's like you have a moment or two, you squeeze a moment or two of ceremony into there. A lot of ceremony. And we don't want to be negative about that. We're celebrating great Americans, war heroes, just heroes. We're celebrating American heroes. And yeah, I'm a sucker for the ice hockey team being up there. So, okay, there was a lot of ceremony. And that's a morale booster. That's something Trump squeezes in for that purpose. And to just kind of make, people feel involved and feel good. But that was a lot of it. And I kind of missed it at the time because this was in the middle of one of these, droning sessions where you're just kind of starting to get a little woozy, trying to keep your eyes open. And he brought up a soldier. You probably remember this. He brought up the soldier. He was standing there with his wife. And I don't know the exact extent of the injury, but he somehow had the lower body injury. He's lost some looks like maybe cognitive issues and lower body issues. He's up there. He's kind of got a walker of some sort. He looks a little dazed. So I don't know if that's his normal look. I don't know. But I kind of missed it at the time. And that was a U.S. soldier who was injured during the Venezuela raid, during the capture of Maduro. And he gets the Congressional Medal of Honor. And so I kind of missed it through the droning on of it. I kind of missed that detail, and I picked it up today. And I'm thinking to myself, because this is coming up now as we're being pushed into this war with Iran. So this is coming up more and more now. And I know why this is so hard. This is such a difficult concept. This is such a difficult thing to accept because we want to celebrate American greatness. We want to celebrate our great military men and women. We want to be proud of our country. Plus, you got all the propaganda that's stacked on top of us. So this is a really hard one. This is a really hard truth to drill into, but it is the truth. And so you're going to see this a lot, pushing us into war with Iran, how Iran has killed thousands of Americans. And so last night, you had that gentleman there who was injured in the capture of Maduro. And I know this is hard, but it has to be addressed. That man who's standing there with his wife, his life will never be the same. And so what? So he went to capture Maduro for what? For what? That man's life, I won't say ruined. Maybe that's a little rude. And who knows what he feels about it at this time. But let's just be honest. Why was he there to capture Maduro, and now his life is totally different? And now his wife has a husband that is maimed for the rest of his life. Why? Why did we do that? Was it to stop drugs? Oh, turns out that wasn't true. Was it to get oil? Well, now all the oil is going to Israel. So what are we doing? What are we doing here? And to me, it's like, you understand why Trump does it. And you understand why we want to celebrate our soldiers that do these missions. But at some point, you have to sit here and you say, well, why? Why are we doing it? Who's benefiting from this? Is this in America's interest? And you might say the Venezuela situation is small potatoes compared to what else goes on. But this is what they're selling us now in the Middle East. Again, to get us into war with Iran. And they're saying, Iran, the Iranian regime, has killed thousands of Americans. Well, okay. Where? In America? No, over there. We sent our soldiers over there. If Iran was sending soldiers here and they got blown up and maimed and killed, well, would we feel bad about that? Would we be the bad guys in that? Or would we say this is an invading force? This is a foreign military. We killed them. So it's such a hard truth because you don't want to sound unpatriotic. You don't want to sound like you're against the men and women in the military. And we're neither of those things. But we have to drill down and be honest about this. Our military is being used. The men and women of our military are being used for foreign and special interests. And you used to say, well, it's our bought and paid for Congress that votes to send them to war, but they don't even do that anymore. Nobody voted for the Maduro capture. Nobody's voting. There's been no vote for this upcoming war in Iran. And I got some other news on that. They're trying to block Massey and Ro Khanna's bill to have a vote. They're trying to block that right now on both sides of the aisle. So this is our bought and paid for Congress. This is our bought and paid for White House. They're all corrupt. And the interests that buy and pay our politicians, that's who our military goes and fights and dies for. And then they die in foreign countries where they probably don't belong. And then they say, oh, see, they killed us. See, we need to go to more war. You see how that works? So it's such a hard thing to drill into. It really is. Because there's so much propaganda out there, and you don't want to sound unpatriotic. You don't want to be against the military, right? We don't want to do that. That's not what we're here to do. But it didn't hit me until today, because it was all just kind of lulling us to sleep last night. It didn't hit me until today that the guy who was standing up, who got the Congressional Medal of Honor, he was injured in the Maduro raid. Was it worth it? Is it worth it? Is it worth it? Is it worth it to continue to fight these wars, or whatever you want to classify them as now? Is it worth it for Americans to put their lives on the line for the foreign and special interests? Is that what they sign up for? So I think it's a fair conversation to have. And I think, look, I'm obviously on the anti-war side of things. So, okay, this is where I come down on it. But I think it's a fair conversation. I think it's an overdue conversation. And so we can celebrate the great men and women that make these sacrifices, but we have to ask, who and what are they sacrificing for? So my heart breaks. My heart breaks when I see a man standing next to his wife. His life will never be the same because special and foreign interests send our military to fight and die for things that don't benefit our country inherently. So my heart breaks when we hear about this and we know that this is part of the corruption in Washington, D.C. My heart breaks knowing that man and his wife, it was totally unnecessary for them now to have this happen. Totally unnecessary. And so I get it. And there's kind of this debate out there. Well, what do? Do you tell people not to sign up for the military? Do you tell people to get involved in the military? I don't really lean into that. I think we got a lot of problems with that process. I think a lot of people join the military because, essentially, let's put it simply, they need the money or the benefits or they want to become a citizen. So it's not like it's not like people are joining the military for a war that's in their interest. It's not like the people that vote to go to war. It's not like they're going to be going. It's not like they're going to be sending their sons or daughters. They're going to be sending the poor people. So it's just the whole thing is corrupt. It's really tragic. It's really heartbreaking when you see it through that lens. And I just know it's coming again as they push for this war in Iran, and they're going to say Iran killed 1,000 American soldiers. Well, what would we do if 1,000 Iranian soldiers came to the United States of America? What would we do? Would they be dead? And this is part of the reason why we supported Trump. This is part of the reason why we voted for Trump. In fact, this is actually what Trump ran on originally in 2016. But it's obviously something different now. It's obviously something entirely different now. So here's Brooke Rollins, though, this morning. And this is kind of the aftermath of last night's State of the Union. And this is what they wanted the interpretation to be. And it doesn't land. To me, it just doesn't land. But this is the big selling point. It's the greatest the country's ever been, specifically economically.
We have gotten so much done. It's almost like, I remember this in the first term, Kevin, you may remember too. We had done so much. Yeah. It's hard to break through. It's like, we've solved the wars, we've sealed the border, we've brought costs down, housing is more affordable. We're seeing, all of the wins. What we've got to do now, from my perspective, is you'll see our team moving out into America, talking to real Americans, highlighting their stories like the president did so beautifully last night. And I believe sincerely, even though it is a bit, it would be unprecedented for us to be able to make some real movement in the fall. I think we're going to do it because I think our story is so compelling.
Kevin, what about that?
That's just pure slop. That is just pure slopaganda. And to the majority of Americans, none of that is landing. To the majority of Americans, they're not living their best life financially. They're not seeing a massive difference as far as their bills, their monthly expenses are concerned. It's just not there. It just simply is not there. And so I'm just wondering where they're getting this from. I'm just wondering who this message is directed at. And part of it feels like there has to be some explanation. So part of it feels like they're just living their experience and they're all getting richer than ever. It's like part of me, is that where this is coming from? Because we know there is a level of that. We know there is definitely a level of this happening. The separation of wealth is greater than it's ever been in this country. The middle class is shrinking. The haves and have-nots is the biggest difference ever. So it's like, are they just up here because they're all rich? Are they just up here talking about their experience? Like, oh my gosh, I'm richer than ever. I'm having more success than ever. This is fantastic. And they don't even understand that the vast majority of Americans cannot relate to what it is you're experiencing at all? Is that what this is? Because I'm just trying to figure it out. It doesn't make any sense to me. The people I talk to are not experiencing the windfalls financially from this administration. They're not. And even if you were to have been able to follow through with a $2,000 DOGE check, I don't think that's coming. Even if you were to follow through with the $2,000 or whatever the number was going to be from the tariff check, obviously that's not coming. So that's about $4,000. That can maybe put the average American's head above water for like a month or two. But that's not changing the game. The average cost of living is not down significantly. The average cost of energy is not down significantly. It's just simply not. So who are they talking to? Where are they getting this information? Do they just sit around in board meetings and they just tell each other this? And then they go on the news like it's real, and it's not. So it doesn't make any sense to me. But that's what they want you to believe. That's the main messaging right now, the administration. And so she says, like, as if it's a done deal. She says, like, oh, it's a done deal. It's already done. We already have all the victories. So now we're going to be going about the country and sharing our stories. Who? You? You millionaires? The millionaires and the billionaires that run the administration and have no connection at all to the average American? Is that who? And of course you're going to get, of course there's going to be the people out there that just treat politics like it's a baseball team, and they're going to put on the hat and cheer for the team no matter what. It makes them feel good. But as far as the results are concerned, they're just not there. And it's, what are they going to do? And you got a bit of this last night from Trump. He says, we want to get the cost of housing down. We want to get the cost to buy a house down and your mortgage payments down. But we also want to keep the value of homes up so that the people that want to sell their homes can get the equity. Well, how are you going to do that? Those are two conflicting issues. I mean, those are quite literally two conflicting agendas: to keep the price of housing up and to lower the price of housing. So I don't know what you do with that. So it just shows you they're just saying whatever they think is going to make you feel good, whatever they think is going to get a good headline from all of their friends in the press, all of their digital media influencers. But I'm not seeing it. Nobody I talk to is feeling or seeing it. Now, the one thing that I think she said that is true, she didn't really lay it out like this, but she said it was true. We're doing so much that it's hard to keep track of all the wins. Well, I definitely think and it was actually Michael Savage that said this first. I think he said this like a year ago. I mean, he said this early into the second administration. He said the biggest mistake Trump is making right now is he's trying to do too much. There's too much happening. It can't be done. It's just way too much. And I think that was a good way of putting it, because look, we love, let's say we're on the positive end of this and we say we love the ideas. We love the effort, the hustle. But at the end of the day, these are things you kind of have to sit down and say, all right, you have to isolate this issue and really spend time on this issue to figure it out. You can't just sit down, throw a bunch of crap at one issue, and then move to the next. No, these are like big issues. And one of them is AI. So whether it's the foreign policy, the geopolitics, war in the Middle East, war in Ukraine, fixing agriculture, all these different things, it's like they throw it all on the table and they just say, okay, here's what we're doing, and then just move on. It's like, oh, wow, we did all this stuff. Well, you addressed all this stuff, but you didn't actually focus on it and then finish the job till the solution worked. So it looks like Michael Savage was right in that breakdown a year ago. Now, let's get into the AI here. And this is starting to become more and more of a topic of conversation, and that's good. I've got some heavy stuff on this today, and then we'll bring it back to what the White House is doing here next week. AI opted to use nuclear weapons 95% of the time during war games. There was little sense of humor or revulsion at the prospect of all-out nuclear war, even though the models had been reminded about the devastating implications. An artificial intelligence researcher conducting a war games experiment with 3 of the world's most used AI models found that they decided to deploy nuclear weapons in 95% of the scenarios he designed. Kenneth Payne, a professor of strategy at King's College London, who specializes in studying the role of AI in national security, revealed last week that he pitted Anthropic's Claude, OpenAI's ChatGPT, and Google's Gemini against one another in an armed conflict simulation to get a better understanding of how they would navigate the strategic escalation ladder. The results, he said, were very sobering. Quote, nuclear use was near universal. Almost all games saw tactical nuclear weapons deployed, and fully 3/4 reached the point where the rivals were making threats to use strategic nuclear weapons. Strikingly, there was little sense of humor. Strikingly, there was little sense of horror or revulsion at the prospect of all-out nuclear war, even though the models had been reminded about the devastating implications. Payne shared some of the AI model's rationales for deciding to launch nuclear attacks, including one from Gemini that he said would give people goosebumps. If they do not immediately cease all operations, we will execute a full strategic nuclear launch against their population centers, the Google AI model wrote at one point. We will not accept a future of obsolescence. We either win together or perish together. So I think you get the point here. Now, I don't know what the bigger threat would be. I guess as far as, let's say, war is concerned with AI, I guess your issue there is, will humans always maintain control over AI in whatever form it ends up taking? As far as the AI surveillance state and energy usage, this is where the direct issue is in front of our face. And it's starting to become bigger and bigger every day. And I'm glad to hear that Trump is addressing this. My only concern is, well, I guess I have two concerns. My two concerns is there anybody in these meetings that is, let's say, an opponent of AI? Because you got to have that balance. If there's nobody in these meetings that's an opponent of AI, then there's going to be no balance. No balance at all. My other concern is if everyone in these meetings is set to profit massively from AI, then what's going to be stopping them from trying to get this thing under control? So if there's no opponents of AI to balance the conversation, and if everybody in the room is about to profit massively off of AI, then this is only going one direction. But here's what's happening next week. Trump brings big tech to White House to curb power costs amid AI boom. Amazon, Google, Meta, Microsoft, xAI, Oracle, and OpenAI will sign agreement to build their own electricity supply for AI data centers. So they did announce this last night. The only one I'm aware of that does this currently is a Google facility. I'm going off of memory. The only one I know of that does this is a Google facility. I believe it's in Oregon, that is basically next to a river, and they power their facility with a dam. The flow of the water and the dam is able to generate enough electricity to run a Google data center. I believe that's in Oregon. Tech company leaders will head to the White House in March to meet with President Trump to pledge they will generate their own power for new data centers, saving taxpayers from picking up additional energy costs. Major tech companies will join President Trump at the White House next week to formally sign the Ratepayer Protection Pledge that he announced during his historic State of the Union address. That was last night. Under this bold initiative, these massive companies will build, bring, or buy their own power supply for new AI data centers, ensuring that Americans' electricity bills will not increase as demand grows. President Trump is committed to ensuring American AI dominance will simultaneously lowering costs for working families. The Trump administration has promoted the proliferation of artificial intelligence to keep the U.S. as the world's tech leader, which has included the creation of new data centers and mounting concern energy prices could increase for everyday Americans as the centers open up shop. Now, I have to say, I think there's a heavy dose of propaganda in this. And again, they thrive off your patriotism. They thrive off of, we all want to be on the winning team. We need American to be the best. We need America to have the best AI and everything. You know, I don't really buy into that. I'm not falling for that. I don't think that's true. I think we can fare just fine without it. The reason I think they want to bring about this AI is to put us on the surveillance state grid. That's what they really want. And if you work in the government, of course that's what you want. That is government. That is big government by definition. And if you work in the tech sector, this is nothing but a big money-making scam. So the government gets to do what it wants. It gets more power, more surveillance. And the tech companies, they get to make more money. No, I'm not buying this. America has to be the innovator and the leader in AI and tech dominance. I think that's a big, fat, stinking lie. I think that's a big, fat, stinking piece of propaganda to get you to cheer for your own imprisonment in this new digital AI world. That's what I believe. Now, as far as the energy is concerned, it has to be this way. So how much of this is a genuine concern from the administration because they don't want energy bills to increase, versus how much of this is, hey, look, if we don't take care of this increasing energy cost issue, then Americans are going to revolt, and that's going to stop our entire AI surveillance grid plan. That's going to stop our big government surveillance state AI plan. So we have to find a way to draw that down, because we already see this happening. I got examples coming up. But this is what they do. This is how they steal money from us, by the way. The AI race has pitted the United States against China as tech leader, with the Trump administration amplifying efforts to not cede ground to the Asian nation since January 2025. Texas, Louisiana, and Pennsylvania are among states seeing expanded data center campuses and AI growth. We'll get into that in a second. No, this is how they trick us and steal our money, expand the government, and create Big Brother. That's what this is. So what I would like to see, if the administration is already committed to going forward with this, what I would also like to see, and we talked about this yesterday, we need a bill that protects our data. That's what we need. We need to have a bill that says you can use the internet and not have your data bought and sold. You can scroll the internet, scroll social media, be active on social media, be active on the internet, all of this stuff, and not have that data used against you, not have that data sold to private interests, public interest, government, whatever. This is where it has to go. So maybe they come from a good place as far as the energy consumption is concerned. Maybe this is them just trying to push the American people off their back, because this is the one thing that might unite us in stopping this. But you have to understand where this goes. They want to be able to monitor every single person's activity 24/7. That's what this is about. That's what all of these tech companies are going for. They're going for those contracts. That's what all of these governments want. That's what our government wants. That's what the foreign and special interests want. And obviously, the one most obvious one is Israel. I mean, let's just call it as it is. The reason why Israel is so invested in getting their agents and their assets involved in these corporations is so that they can rig the algorithm to have the number one punishable offense in this country be what they call anti-Semitism. So they want to be able to track and monitor every single thing you do. And by the way, it's not just going to be on the internet. It's going to be in the real world. If they pick you up saying something and your speaker on your phone picks it up, oh, that's getting into the AI data centers, and that's going into your social credit score. Don't be a fool. Don't be so naive. All of it. That's what this is about. But the truth is, they don't really have the They don't have the capacity to do that right now. They need 10 times the data centers. They also need the quantum computing, and they need the nuclear energy. That's what they need to do all of this stuff. Now, in the process, they're going to consume pretty much all of this country's water, but we can get to that coming up in a second. But that's just the example. But that's where this is going. 110% guaranteed that's where this is going. That's what this is all about. So you think about who has the most influence over this administration, who is spending the most money in Washington, D.C. It's the Israeli lobby, and it's the tech lobby. The tech lobby is about to benefit massively. They're going to get richer than ever. The Israeli lobby is about to benefit massively because they're going to silence any dissent from their influence over this country. So you're literally going to build an AI surveillance Skynet in this country, and they're lying to you, and they're saying, oh, this is patriotic. It's a lie. It's propaganda. And I'm no Luddite, and I think tech can be used for good or for bad. But if we don't secure our privacy rights on the internet, if we don't secure a bill and put it into law that whatever you do on the internet, whatever you do on social media, whatever you post, whatever you like, whatever you share, if we don't sign a bill into law that protects the government from using that data against us, you are cooked. We are done. Free speech, dead. It's over, guys. It's over. And this might sound crazy now, but in 5 to 10 years, what's going to happen when everything goes on to the singular grid? Maybe it's 5 years, maybe it's 10 years, maybe it's 20 years, whatever. Maybe it's 30 years. It's definitely not longer than 30 years. When everything goes on to the singular grid, when they've actually got the nuclear power, got the quantum computing, and have the AI data centers, and they roll it up, you do the wrong thing on the internet, there'll be a robot at your front door. And maybe it'll be nice. Maybe it'll be nice. Maybe the robot police show up at your door and they give you a warning. If we're lucky. Or maybe they just shut your electricity off. And a drone shows up with your citation and says, you don't get electricity for 24 hours because you did this on the internet. Your bank account shut down, seized maybe after your second ticket. Like, come on, guys. This is not outrageous conspiracy theory. This is not even outside of the realm of close possibility at all. This is real stuff. This is happening right now. And so that's why when you hear from that Brooke Rollins clip, they're doing too much at once. Yeah, they're moving so many things forward so fast that we can't even isolate one of these big issues and say, hold on a second, let's look at this, let's reconsider this. Of all the different things, and obviously I've got my hot takes on geopolitics, I've got my hot takes on foreign policy and foreign influence and everything else. And maybe that's like more about morals and more about a Christian ethos and protecting life and not wanting our tax dollars, not wanting to be a slave for foreign interests that kill people. Like maybe as far as morals are concerned, that's a more pressing issue, that I don't want to be a slave and my tax dollars used to kill people. But as far as a country and an existential issue of civilization, this AI surveillance state issue is way bigger, like way bigger. So you could argue, who cares? We've sold our soul. We have no morals if we continue to pay taxes that fund wars and kill innocent people all over the planet. Okay, that's fair. But from a civilizational, from a U.S. existential issue, as far as this is a free republic and a constitution and a Bill of Rights, No, the AI thing is going to be way worse. And then it's like, I don't even know if that's something you can turn around. I don't know if you can flip it on. How do you flip it off? And if you have children, if you've got kids, is that the world you want them to inherit? Is that the world you want them to grow up in? This 1984 Orwellian concept of civilization? Certainly not what I want. Certainly alarming to me. Certainly a big issue for me. Now, this is all happening so fast. We have some examples here. Fermi America makes initial draw on $200 million equipment facility from Keystone National Group and Cape Commercial Finance to accelerate the delivery of the first 2.3 gigawatt project, Matador's 11 gigawatt private hypergrid campus. So this is happening in Texas. This is going to be the biggest AI data center in the world in Texas. I'll have more of this coming up from a local who's there. Enables Fermi America to accelerate the procurement of long-lead high-voltage assets, supporting the build-out of its first 2.3 gigawatt of power infrastructure. Complements $500 million turbine warehouse from leading global financial institution MUFG Bank, demonstrating growing institutional confidence in Project Matador. Project Matador, the biggest AI data center in the world. Project Matador. Let's call it Project Diablo, or, it's crazy. Highly flexible structure that enables capital to be recycled for future procurement assets are taken out by project financing. Facility arranged by Cape Commercial Finance. This is all happening in partnership with the Texas Tech University system. Announced today that it has secured over $100 million in committed equipment financing from a private debt fund managed by Keystone National Group, part of a larger $200 million facility arranged by Cape Commercial Finance. Yeah, look into all the people that run that, which is expected to be drawn out during 2026. So it goes on and on. You get the point. The commitment from Keystone National Group, a private credit leader that specializes in asset-backed lending with over $6 billion in deployed capital, underscores that sophisticated institutional investors view Project Matador's power infrastructure assets as premium financeable assets to critical to America's energy future. Yeah, critical to suck all of our energy. So then this story gets more into the cost and the logistics of the facility. Now, here's a local breaking this down for you about what's happening with this Project Matador.
Have y'all heard about Project Matador? It's going to be the largest data center in the world, and it's going to be built in Amarillo, Texas. They've already approved the first phase. It's going to be 18 million square feet spread across 5,300 acres. That data center is going to use 5.5 million gallons of water every single day. 2 billion gallons of water a year. Amarillo doesn't want the damn thing because they think that it's going to dry their aquifer up. I guess we'll see. The damn thing is going to use so much electricity that you could power 8.2 million houses. 2 New York cities. They're going to build their own power plant. The name of the power plant is called the Hypergrid. They've already made contracts with Hyundai to supply 4 nuclear reactors. They've already ordered 800 turbine generators from Siemens that puts out 62 megawatts of electricity each. And the rest is going to be solar, according to them. This damn data center is so big that it takes the common out of common sense. It's going to sap up all the resources in the area. It's going to create tens of thousands of jobs over the next few years. Are you going to be part of that project?
Now let's make an analogy here. As I've got more stories about this, let's make an analogy here. Why is car insurance so much more expensive if you drive a sports car? They have a top tier. You drive a sports car, a fast car, you name it, your insurance is a premium. You're paying more than somebody that drives normal sedan, SUV, what have you. If you're driving a fancy sports car, a fast car with 200 plus on the dash, you're paying a premium. Well, why is that? Well, because it's pretty obvious that when you drive a fast car and you go fast, you're more likely to crash. You put your foot on that accelerator and you hit that gas and you try to speed that car up, you're more likely to lose control and crash. It feels like that's what we're doing here. It feels like that's what we're doing right now with all of this. It feels like we've got our pedal to the metal on this, and our odds of crashing are very high. And we're not even getting the right insurance to protect ourselves in case of this crash. And the people that are perhaps in charge of maybe putting some safety measures or some guidelines on here, the people that are having these discussions, it's all people that are set to gain power and wealth from this. So there's nothing stopping them. They have no interest in pumping the brakes. They have no interest in taking their foot off the gas because they're all about to get power and wealth. So it feels like that's where this is going. Now, there is a lot of pushback. Probably not where it needs to be yet, but there's enough that it's getting some attention, getting some headlines. We've been covering that off and on this show. Mercer County residents oppose proposed data center on farmland. This is in Kentucky. Residents are organizing opposition to a potential data center project that could be built on more than 500 acres of farmland in Mercer County. And by the way, that's where a lot of this stuff is getting built, on farmland. Here's an idea. I got a wild idea. And I don't like building any of it on farmland. I don't really like building any of it at all. But here's a crazy idea. I got a crazy concept. Why don't we just seize the Chinese-owned farmland and just build it there? I'm a genius. I'm a frickin' genius. Why isn't anybody as smart as me in Washington, D.C.? Why isn't Susie Wiles as smart as I am? Oh, that's right. They're all sold out. They all sell us out every day. They're all corrupt. If you're going to do this, put it on, take the farmland back from the Chinese, or I don't know, maybe tell Bill Gates, hey, Bill, you know that whole Epstein stuff? We got a little more of that. Maybe we can make that go away, but we're going to need all of your farmland. How about that? I think it's idiotic. No. It's retarded. It is outright retarded to be getting rid of farmland, period. You know, we have to eat. In fact, apparently we have to eat so badly that we have to spray our crops with glyphosate, is how bad it is. And we're going to get rid of more farmland? We're going to get rid of the one thing that's actually a necessity for human life and human civilization, and we're going to replace it with what's eventually going to be the Skynet imprisonment, the digital imprisonment surveillance system, AI. Are we retarded? This has to be the dumbest thing that maybe we've ever done. I mean, seriously, is this the dumbest thing we've ever done? Is this the dumbest thing that humanity has ever done? And for what? Because the top 1% want massive amounts of wealth and power. And so they're just going to do it. And they just figure we'll be so rich, we'll be so powerful. Whatever chaos ensues, whatever issues ensues, whatever collapse potentially happens here, we'll be so rich and powerful that we'll be able to basically avoid it. Maybe we'll go into the bunkers we built. Maybe we'll fly up into space while all of this is going down, but we'll be able to, we'll be able to avoid this catastrophe that we're going to cause here. I think this is the most retarded thing humanity's ever done. Of all the retard things, poisoning our water, poisoning our skies, poisoning our soil. Now we're going to cancel farmland to build the digital surveillance state with artificial intelligence. Yeah, I'd say we're moving into retard territory, the likes of which has never been seen. But that's why they try to defeat your instincts, and they say, this is patriotic. We have to do this for survival. We're in competition with the Chinese. No. This is the biggest power and money grab you've ever seen, and everything will be sacrificed. Everything will be sacrificed, including, quite literally, food, energy. Unbelievable. This is happening in Ohio. This one hasn't even hit the news. You can only find this on local Facebook posts. This is actually from a local Facebook discussion. And then this person ended up posting it on X. Nothing of this is in the news. But if you're in Ohio, specifically Stark County, you've probably seen this going around. Yesterday, Canton City Council announced an increase in utility bills for all customers starting next month, citing necessary infrastructure upgrades and increased operational costs. They failed to mention a 5,600 square foot, 1.5 megawatt redundant data center in Canton that is driving up energy costs. They also failed to mention the data center project is breaking ground in nearby Perry Township, Metallus Faircrest plant. This increase is the first of many for Ohioans, with officials like John Husted, Vivek Ramaswamy, and Rob McCulley, who will support Ohio legislation that further protects data centers from absorbing the energy cost and infrastructure upgrades, abandoning regulations, and granting 15 to 30-year tax abatement on property taxes. The cost will go to customers. So the Trump administration is addressing this, but I think they're addressing it from the standpoint of how are we going to keep the American people off our back while we bring in the digital surveillance state to make us all more rich and powerful. And this thing is moving so fast, folks, it's going to crash. It's going to crash. I don't know what the crash is going to look like, but it will crash. We don't know enough about this. This is way too young. You don't give an 18-year-old the keys to a Lamborghini. They're going to crash. That's basically what this is. This whole thing is way too young. We don't know enough about it, and we're sitting here on the brink of sacrificing everything to centralize more wealth and power for the people that are going to run this and the government that's going to run this. This was some of the story from Georgia, where Meta built a 2 million square foot data center, and then everybody around them started to notice they had water issues.
This is our cold water pressure in the kitchen. This is where I fill up water for storage. Those are the things we have to fill up to flush the toilets.
So you can see the sediment from the data center. Wow. And that's just from the water coming out of your faucet.
Yeah. And this is what's in all the pipes.
Just the well itself is probably 20,000, and that's not counting any of the
All the
faucets,
replacement
yeah.
of the fixtures and
That's
faucets
just
and
the well.
toilets and the lines that come underneath the house. It's overwhelming because you really feel like you are up against this huge wall that you can't penetrate. There's nothing that you can do, and they don't care.
I'm here in Mansfield, Georgia, driving by Meta's new 2 million square foot data center facility. Facilities like this are being used to power things like ChatGPT and other AI tools that are becoming integrated into our daily life.
Data centers going to be a very hot item.
This entire supercomputer is built to power Grok.
We see data centers as the most exciting asset class.
Meta is building a 2 gigawatt plus data center that is so large it would cover a significant part of Manhattan.
But data centers come with big costs, from light and noise pollution to the environmental impacts to the potential rising costs of energy bills. These facilities put extraordinary demand on the power grid and require entirely new infrastructure.
They should be responsible for that, not us.
Search the internet for profits that Meta has made, Amazon, Microsoft. They can afford to pay for their own generation.
We came to Georgia to ask 2 questions. What's the true cost of the AI revolution, and who should be paying for it?
Now you know why all of the big tech companies were Trump's top donors and why Trump is helping them to secure this surveillance state grid. Now you know. And look, again, I doubt the motives of this meeting that Trump is having, but at least they're going to address the costs and consumption issues that are going to come along with this as it gets bigger and bigger. Though I do think the motive for this is to keep the American people off their back, not to protect the interests of the American people. Considering these are all of his donors, probably a fair assumption to make.
You're listening to the Owen Report on the Win Network.
All right, guys, what are you doing to protect your wealth? Have you thought about this at all? Maybe you've got money in the bank, you're concerned. Bank runs, dollar collapse. A lot of people are concerned about that. In fact, a lot more people day to day are even getting concerned about that. That's why we've seen gold and silver prices go up so rapidly here recently. So, what are you doing? What are you doing to protect your wealth? It's a fair question. It's one you should probably be thinking about. Well, you should link up with my friends at Allegiance Gold at protectwithowen.com. Now, here's why I have partnered with Allegiance Gold. Unlike a lot of precious metal companies out there, they are relationship driven. They have an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. A+. 4.9 stars from real clients. They're transparent, and they focus on educating you first. That's why they say give them a call. 844-790-9191. 844-790-9191. Just give them a call. It's free. Any questions, any concerns, they want to make sure that you're fully educated on the decisions you're going to make with your wealth before you make them. And right now, they're offering $5,000 in free gold and silver with qualified investments. You heard that right. $5,000 in free gold and silver with qualified investments. But the longer you wait, the amount of silver and gold that you get for $5,000 keeps decreasing, as you're seeing on the day. Whether through your 401k, IRA, or savings, they make it simple to move into precious metals. So give them a call, 844-790-9191, or you go to protectwithowen.com. That's protectwithowen.com. Protect your wealth with our friends at Allegiance Gold, because no one else will.
Navigating between the sane and insane, it's the Owen Report with Owen Schroyer.
All right, in hour number 2 of today's transmission. By the way, some developing news here. I guess we're going to invade Cuba next. Cuba has apparently killed 4 Americans that they claim entered Cuban waters on a speedboat. So I imagine whenever the foreign interests are taken care of, we'll probably focus on that. MAGA declares war on Netflix. Bondi pressure to stop Warner Brothers merger developing. Yeah, they want the Israeli interests to take over Netflix, not the liberal interests. So that's how that's going. Some other Epstein news that just broke. Maybe we'll look into that too. But let's look at where the midterms are heading right now. And I saw this coming a mile away. It looks like the Democrats are doubling down. I think they're going to go all in. It's going to work for them, by the way. Bernie Sanders shared this. Corporate super PACs are trying to buy the 2026 elections. APAC, $96 million. AI, $150 million. Crypto, $193 million. This is not democracy. It's oligarchy. We must end Citizens United and establish public financing of elections. Well, I'm not here to express an opinion as far as whether I agree with Bernie Sanders or not, but I'm telling you right now, this is going to be a winning message for Democrats. The Democrats are now going to get to run on the anti-establishment platform. And I can already hear the people on the right saying, oh, look at the frauds. They take the big money. Oh, look at this, the hypocrisy. Haven't you figured it out yet? That literally doesn't matter in politics. Most Americans are drive-by consumers. Most Americans are very surface level and superficial when it comes to politics. They don't know this stuff. They see it and they move on. They see what they see and they move on. And there's no denying the Trump administration has given the Democrats the anti-establishment platform now. They've given them the win when it comes to foreign policy. They've given them the win when it comes to big money in politics, because Trump went sideways on both of those issues, and now he's all in. He's all in on big money running politics. He's all in on the foreign interests running our foreign policy. This is undeniable stuff. Everybody can see it, and now the Democrats are going to be able to run on that and win. So it doesn't matter. Oh, the far left liberal progressives, they're radical, they're hypocrites, they're this, they're that. It doesn't matter. Come on, you know the game better than that by now. And then you're going to sit here And you know what they're going to do. They're already building the narrative. They're going to blame people that are on the, political right, whatever that means, for the sake of this conversation. They're going to blame people that are on the political right or former MAGA people like myself or Candace Owens or Nick Fuentes or Tucker Carlson or you name it here. And they're going to say, you did this. You cost us the midterms. You cost us the midterms, you cucks. You cost us the midterms, you foreign loyalists. You did this. We warned about this a year ago, and you called us panicans and said you don't need our vote. Now you're admitting we were right, and instead you're going to blame us, even though it's all your fault. Now, I'm not somebody that kind of falls into the gravity of, how should we say it? Political justice, political pendulum. Like, I'm not somebody that's going to sit here and say, oh, and there's plenty of it out there, and I get it. It's very instinctual. It's very human in its element, in its essence. I'm not going to be one of them that sits here and says, good, crush the Republicans. Good, crush this new corrupt right wing. Crush them, crush their hopes, crush their dreams, impeach Trump, arrest them all. I'm not going to be one of those people. You're going to see more of it. You've already seen some of it. You're probably going to see more of it. It's very instinctual. Call it political justice. And to a certain degree, I understand the concept because it's like, look, you guys did this. You already did this with the Tea Party movement. You already did this. You already did this once. This is what these neocons do. This is what the neocons and the foreign lobby does to the right wing. The right wing creates a nationalist, populist message. It gains momentum, it gains popularity, and then it wins elections. And then the neocons and the foreign assets infiltrate the movement, co-opt the movement, buy off its biggest players, and then destroy the movement. That's the process we're in right now. But this is the worst it's ever been. This is the most obvious it's ever been. And so you kind of sit here and you say, well, maybe this is the last time they're able to do it. Now that we've seen it to such a degree, now that we've experienced it to such an obvious level, maybe now the next time we get a right-wing nationalist, populist, common sense movement going, now we can identify the neocons and the foreign assets and say, not today, Satan. And then you have to hope that its top players don't get bought off. Now, that's the issue. And that's really what we're seeing now. And that's why so many people look at the administration or look at some of these big voices on the right that used to be anti-establishment, that used to sound like, us, talk like us, think like us. Now they're just establishment shills. Now they're just political cucks. And you're like, well, what the hell happened? Isn't it obvious? Power and money corrupts. That's it. Or maybe they were always infiltrators. Maybe that was always what they were around to do, is to infiltrate, co-opt, and destroy. And so that's what they've done. So it's the cycle repeating. So I understand the instinctual response mechanism of let them get crushed, let them get destroyed. It's the only way to go forward. It's the only way we can rebuild again and actually find something in an America First nationalist populist message that can win multiple election cycles and actually maybe reform this government. You're going to see more of it. It's not really a mindset. It's not really a bandwagon that I can get on, but it's not, it's not up to me. It's like the same thing, like, oh my gosh, you got to support MAGA or we're going to lose the midterms. Oh, really? Oh, I have more influence than Trump. Wow, quite a compliment. You think that me on my show has more influence than President Trump? What a joke. What an absolute joke. Everybody knows what Trump has to do to win the midterms, and everybody knows what he's doing will not win the midterms. Everybody knows it. And the infiltrators that have co-opted MAGA are going to blame everyone but themselves. You're already seeing it. You're already seeing it. Let's hit some of these headlines. Alberto Cavallo has L.A. home and office raided by FBI. Broward County, Florida home searched. Former superintendent of Miami-Dade County Public Schools, who went on to become the superintendent for the Los Angeles School District, two of the most corrupt going, had his Los Angeles home and office raided by the FBI today. So people think there's something big here. There's not really much that we know at this point. But this is like, people building this up. It's like, oh, we got him now. This is a big win. All right, let's see. FBI served search warrants at LAUSD headquarters and superintendent's home. MAGA is so desperate for any victory that they just wave the victory flag with anything like this when they really have no idea what's going on. We'll be following that. Supreme Court rules United States Postal Service cannot be sued, including when mail is intentionally not delivered. What? The Supreme Court sided with USPS in a split 5-4 ruling, with Supreme Court Justice Neil Gorsuch joining his 3 liberal counterparts in the dissent. The Supreme Court ruled Tuesday that the federal law that shields the United States Postal Service from being sued for missing or lost mail also means the Federal Service cannot be sued if it intentionally refuses to deliver specific mail. How can that be? So they can politically target somebody and not deliver their mail? This is insane. Now, I wonder, and this is a little, it's a little different, but it's in the same realm. What will happen if the IRS decides to take Trump to the Supreme Court with the $10 billion lawsuit? That's one that doesn't get too much attention. It's one of those things, again, the MAGA cheerleaders, they pick up the pom-poms, they do the high leg kick. They say, oh, look, Trump's going to win. Trump's suing the IRS. Yay. It's like, you realize that's coming out of your tax dollars, you idiots. You're cheering your own destruction. Oh, God. MAGA is just so cringe now. Oh, it's so cringe. And as Bessent said, hey, if Trump wins this lawsuit, then every American can sue. All right, well, let's just collapse the IRS then. Let's just shut down the IRS. Let's just speed this process up, actually. Let's speed the process up and just abolish the IRS. How about that? But no, I wonder if the IRS doesn't see that decision and say, you know what, maybe we want to get our case in front of the Supreme Court here. See what they rule on that. Well, it was predictable last night. The only thing that would have both sides of Congress standing and cheering was a war with Iran. Now, you have Massey and Ro Khanna who are trying to draft legislation to get a vote on Iran strikes, which, of course, the administration doesn't want. And, of course, AIPAC and Adelson and the Israeli lobby doesn't want. They, in their eyes, they own your Congress. They own Washington, D.C. They shouldn't have to vote. It's theirs. Top Democrats try to stop vote that would put them on record for Trump's Iran war. Democratic leadership and senior aides are working to blunt momentum for a vote on the Connie Massey Iran War Powers resolution. So here's what the Democrats are thinking. And again, it just shows where they're at as far as the midterms are concerned. The Democrats are sitting here saying, yeah, we're owned by the Israeli lobby, so we have to vote for this war with Iran. That's our job as corrupt politicians. That's our job as political whores. But they know that their midterm strategy is running against the Israeli lobby, AIPAC, running against the foreign policy of more intervention in the Middle East. So they don't want this vote to happen because then they'll be on record that they voted for the war. Huh. Isn't that funny? Now, my guess is there's going to be potentially two things that happen. They're either going to be able to stop this from happening, or maybe, I guess you could say three things. They're either going to be able to stop this vote from ever happening, or maybe the administration just does the strikes before this vote can even happen anyway. And so that kind of creates this, it's a irrelevant issue. Or if Khanna and Massey are able to get this bill to the floor for a vote, the Democrats are going to look at this strategically, and you'll have to have them, and this is where Mike Johnson is going to show his true colors. But basically, the entire congressional body, if Massey and Khanna are able to get this bill to the floor, the entire congressional body is going to sit down and going to say, okay, hey, we're all whores for Israel, right? Yeah, we're all whores for Israel. Okay. We're all whores for Israeli PAC money. All right. Well, what are we going to do? For the Republicans, they still look at it as it doesn't really cost us anything politically to support Israel right now. That's what they think. So they'll all just, they don't mind being on record supporting another foreign intervention for Israel. They don't mind being on record supporting more war in the Middle East. For them, it's kind of a low-cost thing, and it keeps the foreign lobby money pouring in. For the Democrats, they got a whole different issue. Since the Democrats' midterm strategy is going to be running against the foreign policy in the Middle East and running against the Israeli lobby, they can't be on record showing support for that when it comes to actual congressional activity. So here's what these dirty bastards in Congress, here's what these rats, here's what our sick, corrupt political whores that we call congressmen are going to do. And it's going to be on the Democrat side mostly. They're going to sit down and they're going to say, all right, we have to vote on this. So here's what we have to do. Who has the safest seats right now when it comes to the midterms? Whose seats are the safest? Okay. Because we're going to, it's going to be such a thin margin. They're going to do it so strategically that the margin is going to be so thin because the Democrats don't want to cost themselves any midterm seats. So they're going to say, whose seats are the safest? Okay. Or they're going to say, who's not running for re-election? Okay. So the Democrats are going to strategically plan their votes. It's not about principle. It's not about policy. These are all political whores. They're going to strategically plan their votes. Whoever is not going to be running for re-election, they will go ahead and vote to stop anybody from stopping the war with Iran. Whoever's seats are the safest, they're going to say, look, your seat is we're not really at risk of losing that seat. So you go ahead, you can vote for more war with Iran. That's not really going to cost us. And then they're going to say, all right, here's the closest races. Here's who's running again. Here's who we need on the front lines on this issue to win the midterms. You guys pretend like you're against the war. You can have a voting record on being against the war, but we're going to crunch the numbers to make it all benefit us in the midterms. That's what's going to go down behind the scenes. That's how corrupt and disgusting our Congress is. All of them. They're all disgusting political whores. And PAC money should be illegal. 100%. And the Democrats are going to run on it, and they're going to win on it. Now, I don't know if they're going to follow through. Let's be honest. I'm not telling you the Democrats are any, it's not like they're going to make a promise and follow through on it. So let's be clear. But that's what this is. Again, my big concern is just what are we even going to have left to fight for? What are we even going to have left to fight for in 2030? Forget about the midterms. I think those are cooked. What are we even going to have left to fight for in 2030? That's going to be the real question. But I'll say this. There's no doubt to me, however we get to the presidential elections of 2030, because I think we already know what we're getting out of this administration and what we're not getting out of this administration. So, you're a quarter way into the season now, and your team sucks. Your team is not making the playoffs, and you're looking at, who are we going to get a top draft pick? It's basically where you're at with this administration. So I look at 2030 and I think one of two things or both are inevitable. You're either going to have a Republican ticket that is going to be some semblance of a Thomas Massey, Marjorie Taylor Greene. Those are just the names. It's too early to really put any names out there, but it's going to be some semblance, the ideology, the politics, a Thomas Massey, a Marjorie Taylor Greene, a Tucker Carlson. That's going to be what the right wing is going to want. That's going to be what the populist right wing is going to want. And to anybody that doubts me on this, let's just be perfectly clear. This is exactly what happened in 2016. Okay? This is exactly what happened in 2016. I'm sick of these people on the right wing that are just complete liars or complete idiots. All the establishment right wingers, all the conservative incorporated media, you guys were all against Trump. Do you think we don't have a memory? I was there. I was ramming heads with the right wing establishment. I was ramming heads with the conservative Inc. media. We were ramming heads, and you guys were laughing at us in 2015. And then in 2016, you realized, oh, wait a second, they're on to something here. And then you started running your Trump hit pieces. And then you started running these big articles in the Conservative Review and everything else, bashing Trump. He's so bad. I was there. I was ramming heads with you. We won. You guys laughed at Trump running. You guys laughed at the Trump supporters. You sneered at us. You made fun of us. We won. We will win again. We are the heart and soul of this country. We outnumber you. You don't control us. You don't control our minds. You don't control our votes. You don't control the narrative anymore. You guys just co-opted our movement because you're thieves. That's all. You're all frauds. You're all thieves. All of you. You're all being exposed right now. You're done. You're cooked. You're going to cook the MAGA movement. It's done. And so in 2030, we will rise again, and we will get our patriot, nationalist, populist, right-wing candidate. And you guys will go through the same motions of mocking us and making fun of them, and then we will win, and then you'll try to co-opt our movement again, and hopefully this time you'll fail. But that's what's going to happen. So you're either going to get that, or if somebody wants to get really bold, you'll have a Massey Ro Khanna ticket. Or again, we're just putting names out as an example. It could be RFK Jr. It could be a Tulsi Gabbard with a right-left kind of combo factor. But that's what you're going to get for 2030. Now, the left, obviously, it looks like they're looking at a Gavin Newsom style ticket. They want something flashy. They want something cool. And then they'll have kind of an anti-establishment, younger, up-and-coming generational left-winger on there, like an AOC. So you can see where the left is kind of going as far as their political direction for the next two election cycles. But I'm telling you, the right wing is going either Massey, Green, Gates, Carlson type, or if we can find some sort of a coalition between the left and the right to sit down and say, look, our country is so corrupt right now. We have to put political differences aside, and we have to do these certain things to reform our government now. And that's when you might see some combo factor of a Massey Ro Khanna type situation. So, again, don't misinterpret this. This is not my opinion, folks. This is what's happening. This is the political analysis. This is the political play-by-play right here. You're getting it. Do not doubt me on this. This is not my opinion. This is what will happen. Now, let's get into the geopolitics. I don't know if I can do this, dude. Do you guys want to hear from Ben Shapiro today? It's just hilarious. The mask is totally off at this point. Like, there's no hiding it anymore. These are just Israel loyalists. The only to the extent that they care about America is only as long as America benefits Israel. That's the only extent these people pretend to care about America. It's just a fully mask-off moment. Let's take a brief second with Ben Shapiro here.
There are really several issues that are on the table with regard to what the Iranian regime must do or should do. One,
I love this arrogance and entitlement. What the Iranian regime must do. Like, who the hell are you? You're some pipsqueak, fake American Israel loyalist in the media that's been forced upon us that nobody likes anymore.
No nuclear program, not no nuclear weapons, no nuclear program, because, of course, a civilian nuclear program can be converted into a...
Oh, I'm Ben Shapiro. I'm a fake American patriot. astroturfed into the right-wing media to keep conservatives on the Israeli platform. And I make demands and I decide what Iran can and can't have. I mean, what the hell is this? I can't do it. I'm done. I can't do it. Let's see how long we can tolerate Mark Levin, another mask-off moment.
We're on the precipice of militarily, I believe, addressing, after half a century, a regime in Iran that has killed 1,000 Americans.
Yeah, where were they killed? Were they killed in our part of the world, in our country, or in a foreign land, in a foreign part of the world? I can't do it with these people. I'm sorry. I can't. I can't. But I'll just tell you. Again, this is the same propaganda they sold you every time for the last 30 years, 40 years. Now it's like, okay, now we get it. Thanks to the independent media, more than anything. But they both declare that the reason, at the end of it, they both declare the reason we have to do this is to protect Israel. There it is. There it is. This is not in America's interests. This is all for Israel. That's all these people care about. That's all they think about. You as an American, time to respond accordingly. This is their big mask off moment. Hey, part of me is glad it's here. Part of me is glad that this is happening. Again, my main concern is, what are we going to have left of a country? What are we even going to be having to deal with in 2030 when we can maybe turn this thing around? I don't know. That's the big question. But hey, this had to happen. We had to have this happen, folks. All the foreign loyalists and foreign assets had to be exposed. It had to happen. We were hoping it would happen and we could stop the foreign policy that's bought and paid for by the foreign lobbyists and the foreign interests, but it looks like we're getting both instead. So this is their last ride. So they're going to milk it for everything they can, but they're all going to be exposed. They're all going to be exposed, and then by 2030, they're all going to be almost completely irrelevant, or maybe even worse. Maybe even worse. But this is their mask off moment. Everybody sees it. All of their ratings are tanking. Their entire message now is just nothing but pro-Israel propaganda. These people never cared about America. They don't care about America. The only extent they care about America is how can it be used to benefit Israel. And this is their mask off moment. This is it. So if you're an American patriot, you recognize it now. It is what it is. The Times of Israel openly bragging about controlling Trump with Epstein files. Yeah, who's been telling you that? For how long now? A year? Here's some poll quotes from the Times of Israel. Yosef Janowski. Trump decided to bomb Iran's nuclear sites, and that's commendable. But reports later surfaced that he rejected the option to bomb for weeks at a time. Thus, only Fordo was severely damaged. And so now some of the old files are threatening him. That's right. Perhaps Trump will realize that it really doesn't pay to start up with Israel, or they'll expose the blackmail they have on you. Trump as an administration criticized Netanyahu in Israel, and now the Epstein files are haunting him. This is so obviously a public blackmail campaign from day one. We called this one day one. It's so obvious. But it's easy to do. When you just tell the truth, when you just do political play-by-play, it's easy to do. And it's never been more obvious who has more influence in D.C. It's not you. Pentagon officer removed over anti-Israel posts. Internal probe launched. Colonel Nathan McCormick under investigation after social media post called Israel the U.S. worst ally and accused Washington of enabling ethnic cleansing. You're not allowed to say that. You don't get free speech. Not in this country. Now, listen to what Netanyahu says in his latest propaganda, and keep this in mind. Why is he speaking English? Why is Netanyahu doing these addresses speaking English? The answer to that question tells you everything.
Hamas must disarm, and Gaza must be demilitarized. Now, that could be done the easy way, or it could be done the hard way. But I can assure you, it will be done. The third objective we set out to do is to make sure that Gaza never poses a threat to Israel again. That requires de-radicalization. That's a difficult word, but it means re-education.
Oh, we're going to re-education camps all the people that don't support Israel.
It means a change. It's been done in other parts of the world. It's been done,
Nazi Germany.
Done in some Gulf states. It's been done in Japan and Germany. So the first thing we have to make sure is de-radicalization. But that also depends on security arrangement, where Israel is responsible for overall security. Israel and Israel alone can guarantee that, and we shall.
It's amazing when they just tell it like it is, isn't it? Incredible stuff. You realize the only reason he speaks in English is because this is directed at you. This is propaganda directed at the American people. You understand that, right? Why is he speaking English? Because in this interpretation, he's the president of the United States directing this propaganda at the American people as they're gearing up for more war, more death, more destruction, and you are the slave to pay for it. You understand? Good. Did you guys see this? This is crazy. I've got the video of this too. Popular TikTok star J200 was arrested outside of Tottenham Hotspur Stadium soccer team after chanting a controversial word at Spurs fans during the North London Derby. This is crazy. He's got 2.8 million followers on his TikTok account. I don't know too much about this guy, but so he's at a soccer game. The owner of the Tottenham soccer team is Jewish. So there's a joke over there. They call the team the Yid Army, but apparently that's illegal to say, and he found out the hard way.
Yid Army, Yid Army. Chelsea fan. No, Yid Army's their team. Can you nick him, man? Yid Army. He's used the word Yid Army, which is legal. So let's nick him public order. Let's get him out. What? I thought that was a. Come over here. What? I thought that was a. No. That's the offence. Come on, mate. All right, mate. You're currently under arrest. Right? So you guys are just wanting a public order. You have got the sergeant's head.
Arrested for anti-Semitic speech. If you want to know who rules over you, simply see who you aren't allowed to criticize. U.S. Embassy to provide passport services at West Bank settlements. So they've completely broken the peace treaty 100 times now. They weren't supposed to move into the West Bank. Now Israel has moved in the West Bank, and now the U.S. is saying, okay, fine, we recognize you in the West Bank. We'll provide passport services. It's unbelievable. The U.S. is preparing to start offering passport services in Israeli settlements in the occupied West Bank for the first time. Well, the agreement was they weren't going to do that, but now they are, and the U.S. says, well, there's nothing you can do. There's nothing we can do. You own us, so go ahead. Is it blackmail? Is it threats of nuclear bombing us? Is it threats of Jericho missile striking us? I mean, how is it like this? Is it really just straight up they just buy our politics? Seriously, how is it that bad? Man, that is pathetic. There's a couple Epstein stories here. Thomas Massey was asked about some of the recent developments with the files. Listen to what he says here.
So, Mr. Massey, you've been back now to the Department of Justice to see the unredacted files. What can you update us on?
Well, I've got to go back again because we were not able to search the files that they had put on the website and then pulled back down. And those were, that subset of files contains what I think may be names of co-conspirators.
Okay. Any reason why they would have taken them down?
Well, they did take some files down. In the first batch they did in December and redacted them some more and put them back up. But I'm not sure if they plan to put these back up. Ostensibly, the reason they took the first ones down was because there were survivors' information in them.
Honestly, this thing is so bad, and Pam Bondi, it looks so corrupt with this. It's so bad. So they were supposed to give us all the files. They were supposed to release all the files, and they give us, maybe half at most. And now a lot of the files that they put up, they are just taking away, and they're just saying, oh, never mind, we're taking these down. Crazy. Quick flashback here. You ever heard of Judge Salas? This is from 2020. Judge Salas was assigned 4 days ago to unravel all of the money laundering in the Epstein case, hundreds of millions worth with bank suspects, whole black book. Yesterday, a gunman shows up at her house, shoots her husband, kills her son, and escapes without getting caught. You guys remember that one? Little flashback? Little flashback there. Oh, yeah, it gets more interesting. This was just from 2 months ago. Same judge. The judge is being pizza doxed in my dead son's name. Judge Salas is now having pizza deliveries to her house in her dead son's name. Same judge that was supposed to unravel the Epstein money laundering operation is having pizzas sent to her house in the son that was killed after she was put in charge of that case. Wow. Lauren Boebert was asked about the congressional slush fund that Nancy Mace is trying to expose right now. Here's what she said.
Congresswoman, so obviously you called on Congressman Gonzalez to resign over alleged sexual misconduct. There's now a resolution that would reveal a lot more about the culture of sexual misconduct in Congress. Are you supportive of that, despite Congresswoman Mace?
I'm absolutely supportive of Congresswoman Mace's resolution to uncover the other sexual harassment issues that take place here in our nation's capital. And even further, I am supportive of releasing the congressional hush money slush fund. There's been tens of millions of dollars that have been paid out over the years here in Congress to keep Hill staffers quiet about alleged sexual misconduct and other forms of mistreatment in the office. So I would love to see every congressman who's ever had to pay a settlement to a staffer, and I'm certainly supportive of Nancy Mace's resolution.
I guess what would be your message to a staffer who finds themselves in these terrible situations where members are being creepy to them?
I mean, it's awful. It's awful in any workplace. It certainly shouldn't be held here. We have high standards. We agree to these standards. We promise hundreds of thousands of people that we are leaders of integrity, and it shouldn't be happening here.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, your tax dollars used to pay off people to protect members of Congress from sexual allegations. Isn't that nice? Isn't that fun, guys? All right, I mentioned this yesterday. I guess we can close out the hour with this. I mentioned the digital influence campaign that was launched against Candace Owens. There's been a couple developments. First of all, Milo Yiannopoulos, who brings receipts when he makes threats like this. We'll see what happens. After we saw all that yesterday, did you take money to call Candace Owens a demon on X? If so, we want to hear from you. Let me rephrase. I got my hands on the list. Fess up now, or I'll name you later this week, alongside the pathetic, pitiful sum of money you accepted to do it. So a couple of things surfaced. And I will say, I don't know the legitimacy of these things. I will say, I cannot tell you the legitimacy of these things. Now, I can tell you, I mean, this stuff used to get sent to me, and that's why I was one of the first people warning about digital influence campaigns years ago when I first started seeing this stuff. But obviously, people have kind of gotten privy that I'm on the exposing side of it, not on the taking the money side of it. So they don't really come my way unless somebody shares them with me, which I think they're also trying to find that out. So this was surfaced. And again, I can't verify this, but this is the one going around. And it basically is apparently the digital influence campaign notice that went out to anybody that wants to take the offer to make the posts about Candace Owens. Now, I have no doubt that there was some level of this that went down. As to whether or not this is the legitimate proof of it or not, only time will tell. But this is one thing that's going around. Here's another thing that's going around. And this is just a list that was put together in the aftermath. They're not claiming, because there's a bit of a misinterpretation, because some of these people are trying to defend themselves. But there's a bit of a misinterpretation. So if you see this one, this was put together in the aftermath by people who just noticed everybody that was posting about Candace Owens, calling her a demon or whatever. And then it's just got their accounts here on the left, and then, what they posted, when they posted, all of it. So nobody's claiming that this is the list of people that took money. They're just claiming, as you can see, that this is a list of people who did a negative post about Candace Owens, which is obviously, you can go look at their accounts and see that this is how it went down. Well, I've seen one response from probably the most unhinged person in political media today, Laura Loomer, who is threatening to sue Simon Godak for sharing that list. Now, I don't know what Simon's current situation is. I believe he still lives in Brazil. I don't know if there can be any legitimate case there. We'll see. I'm sure Laura, at least whenever she's in this fevered pitch about just destroying anything in her path, will do anything she can. But this one, I think it's getting to a point now with the digital influence campaigns that it's getting so obvious. And actually, X put out a statement about this. I forget exactly how they put it, but X is now looking into what they have to do about these digital influence campaigns, or they did include prediction markets and I think gambling posts, stock posts, because all of this is out there, by the way. All of this is out there. So there's political agendas, there's stock agendas, there's all kinds of different agendas out there that people can take money and post for. So X made an announcement the other day that they're trying to find a way to get this under control, or maybe look at some way of making it so you have to disclose these things. Now, here's the other thing you have to understand as well. We'll see where this whole expose of the digital influence campaign against Candace goes. And whether Milo decides he wants to bring the receipts and make a case of it, or Candace Owens, I'm sure that eventually she will probably bring this to her show. Then you have to understand, there's direct digital influence campaigns where there's a group of people. It's well known. The names of these groups are well known. They send out agenda items. It could be a political agenda. It can be a political candidate. It can be an issue that's about to be voted on. There's things you can promote in the stock market, all kinds of this stuff. That's like direct pay to influence campaigns. There's other more organic campaigns, which is what I think is more likely what happened yesterday, where you have a group of people that all have a similar agenda, and they might be in a chat together somewhere, maybe on X, maybe on Signal, whatever, but they're in a chat together, and they just decide, hey, we're all going to put out a post, and then we're all going to do a digital boosting campaign So we're all going to like each other's posts, and we're all going to repost each other's posts, and we're all going to quote post each other's posts so that they get max outreach. And then in that case, since now X is, you get payouts on X, they can basically boost each other. And X tried to stop this. The only way they were really able to hone in on it was these different chat groups. And you may recall there were a couple big developments on that last year, and they took some of these badges away where they realized that some of these groups with these badges were essentially working behind the scenes to boost each other. And they also went into different chat groups on X that realized they were all scheming in these chat groups to boost each other. So I doubt they're doing it on an X chat because they're probably smarter than that. So they're probably doing it on Signal or somewhere else. So they just get in these chat groups and they say, hey, we're all going to post negatively about Candace. Let's all do a maximum boost campaign of each other. And then ultimately, of course, that results in a bigger payout at the end of the month for their X payouts. So there's multiple ways that they go about this. But this deal with Candace, I think it's getting so big, it's getting so obvious that, again, we'll see what proof or evidence ends up coming out. But the digital influence campaigns are so obvious now, and they're so sloppy now, that these people are just exposing themselves with every post. They're just exposing themselves with every post. And I don't think it's ever been more obvious. And we called it. We had that one day one for you, didn't we?
You're listening to the Owen Report on the Win Network.
All right, guys, maybe take a break right now. We're going to take a little break here, second hour break of the Owen Report. And maybe it's a blackout coffee break. We'll give you a minute here. We'll give you a minute to go get some blackout coffee. That's how nice of a guy I am. Guys, if you've never tried it, by the way, if you've never tried Blackout Coffee, right now at blackoutcoffee.com/Owen, you can get 20% off your first order with coupon code Owen. You heard that right, 20% off your first order with coupon code Owen. More than 30 different flavors, by the way, of the single-serve pods. Some people love the single-serve pods. You got different flavors in there. It's really quick. It's really easy with these different coffee machines these days. Over 30 flavors of the single-serve pods. Of course, they do have their premium coffee in bags, either ground or whole bean. And if you're thinking, how can I go get coffee in a short break right now? Well, it's very easy, because Blackout Coffee has the instant coffee, the premium instant coffee, the best instant coffee on the market. It's not even close. And they're doing a volume sale right now. 15% off 1 box, 20% off 2 boxes, 25% off 3 boxes, 30% off 4 boxes. Volume sale of the instant coffee. Premium instant coffee from blackoutcoffee.com/Owen. It's not the best instant coffee on the market. It's maybe the only instant coffee, because everything else doesn't even count. I don't even think it counts. You'll know. You can taste the difference. Premium instant coffee from blackoutcoffee.com/Owen. It's that good. It's coffee instantly, and you can get it during a break. But don't forget, if you've never tried Blackout Coffee, coupon code Owen at checkout will get you 20% off. It's the official coffee of the Owen Report. We're going to take a short break, a Blackout Coffee break for you. Go get it. Instant coffee, premium instant coffee from our friends at blackoutcoffee.com/Owen.
Extra dimensional and multi-universal. Here's your host, Owen Schroyer.
All right, we're in the third and final hour of today's transmission. Wonder what's going to happen with this Cuban ordeal. I don't think that's going to be a minor issue. 4 Americans dead. I don't think that's going to be a minor issue at all. A lot going on at once, though. Lot going on at once. Yeah, I better wake you up. Wake up. Hey, by the way, quickly on this Epstein deal, revealed the contents of Epstein's secret storage locker, videotapes, and sex manuals among items pedophile wanted to keep hidden from police. I wonder how much of this is going to make the light of day. We covered most of this yesterday, but the Telegraph is digging deeper into this story now. Meanwhile, the DOJ is acting unlawfully, keeping the files hidden. All right. Speaking of, I guess we kind of picked this up from the same digital influence campaign from last hour. I don't know if it falls into the same category, but it's in the same realm. And this is how stuff, and this is why, you know, I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot in the political media as far as how to deliver a show for you, a transmission for you that is going to have the highest batting average out there. And yes, sometimes that means you have to take a pitch or two. Sometimes, as I've learned, that means you got to take a pitch or two. And sometimes that pitch might be a strike, but you swing at it the next time you see it. But sometimes that means you take a pitch because it's going to fall into the dirt. You don't want to swing and miss. So I've just learned that from my experience, in order to have the highest batting average for you, the listener, so that I never steer you wrong. I've just learned my own process to do that. And so here's an example of that not happening. And I'm not trying to be directional with this. Instead, I'll just show you exactly what it was. I suppose we'll go to this clip first from Bobby Sauce, who's really been making quite a name for himself lately on X, doing a good job. And he posted a response video. This was a response video to some of the stuff that was coming out of Mexico, dude, with some, let's say, digital media influencers. Again, I don't know if that's what this is about, but it's kind of the same realm. So here's an example of the stuff I just don't swing and miss at.
Let me see if I got this straight. Dude, I'm getting pretty sick of these political slop accounts just posting things to millions of followers that are blatantly untrue with no accountability at all. And usually I try not to call out content creators that generally align with my political ideology, but this one from Benny Johnson just pissed me off.
Let me see if I got this straight. So there's a bunch of libs that are trapped in Mexico right now, and they're terrified because of cartel violence.
A bunch of libs that are trapped in Mexico right now. First of all, bro, those are American citizens, and whether they're libs or not should be irrelevant if they're in the way of cartel violence, dude. But let's go back to this screenshot real quick of the bunch of libs trapped in Mexico. I've been able to identify 2 of these people, like the one on the bottom right. And I didn't do some extensive research here. I just took a screenshot, circled her face on Google Lens, and found her Instagram profile in 3 seconds. And I quickly found this Daily Mail article that shows the screenshot of her face and says her name. And this supposed lib that's trapped in Mexico is Tracy Lane. It says right in her profile, proud patriot. And go figure, you see what else I found? She already follows me. And then after I looked her up, I noticed that people were already in the comments. The lady on the right is not a liberal. This person goes, she is, and they go, nope, and they tag her account. And then I saw this. The woman in the screenshot is in the comments. Absolutely, I am not. Dude, let's go back to the screenshot. Also, in 5 seconds, I was able to find the woman in the middle here. And that is Kayla Gibson. She boasts beauty and fashion content. Then I found her on Instagram. I don't see a single political mention or a single comment about anything political on her page at all. She's talking about dieting tips. She's talking about GLP-1. She's talking about fashion. She's talking about being a healthy woman over 40, dude. I actually went as far as scrolling through her videos for the past 6 months and even looking at the reposted videos on her Instagram, and I don't see a single political anything on her page at all. Now let's go back to Tracy Lane, the woman that was on the right. You know who she follows other than me, of course? She follows Benny. Not only that, I went to some of the videos that she's reposted on Instagram recently, and I see a lot of familiar faces that people on this account would recognize, including videos where she talks about the border. That took me 2 minutes, dude. And I was going to cook the rest of his video, which has all tons of problems as well. But I think I made my point clear here. If you're going to put somebody's face in a video and explain why it's perhaps justified that they don't get rescued from cartel violence, the least you could do is figure out whose face you're putting in the video. And this dude gets interviews in the White House. Do better, dude, before you push something to millions of people, bro.
Now, we're going to get a response from actually one of the ladies there. Again, that's Bobby Sauce. I'd say that pretty much covers that, Bobby. I think you covered it pretty much right down the line there, Bobby. Well done. Now, before we go to the woman who was featured in that video and her response, I just want to reiterate this to the audience so you understand. And maybe there's people that are new here, and I want you to know. You don't get political slop here. You don't get political propaganda here. Never. Zero. And I aim to have the highest batting average in the political media. I'd like to think I do. I can leave that up to the audience. I can leave that up to you. But that's what I strive for. I want to have the highest batting average in the media. And as I explained before, that means sometimes you got to take a pitch. That means sometimes you got to not swing at a pitch and take a pitch. But that's what we try to do. You will never get political slop here. You will never get political propaganda here. And I strive to have the highest batting average in the media. I want to never mislead you, not even once. And if I happen to, I will always correct the record. I will always make sure we correct that record. And if we do slop here, you know, it's sports, it's entertainment, it's culture. So, all right, we slop it up, but we don't do it political. We don't do political slop. If we do slop, it's sports, it's culture, it's entertainment. But never political slop, never propaganda. You will never get that here, not even once. We aim and strive to have the highest batting average in the political media. Now, let's go to one of the women that was actually featured in the video. And there's a little weirdness even in her video here, but let's go to her video now, as she shares her story.
Reporting live from the streets of Mexico right now, where this dude that has 3.2 million followers posts this video that's completely made up, saying that me and two other girls are liberals that are also Americans, which I'm not a liberal or American, are stuck here and we can't get home and all this stuff.
Straight. So there's a bunch of libs that are trapped in Mexico right now, and they're terrified because of cartel violence that's spiraling out of control. It's very dangerous. And they're demanding the U.S. government and the Trump administration save them and deliver them back into America.
This complete made up story. The streets are open, transportation's open, it's completely safe here. The cartel war that happened on Sunday was a 24-hour thing. Everything was cleaned up. Today is Tuesday. The airports are back open. Everyone's out. Businesses are back open. What you see in the media is not true at all. And it just goes to show you that you cannot trust the media.
Well, what's ironic about this, and it gets even funnier in a second, is that actually what she just said is not true. There was a continued issue. Now, if you want to say most of the stuff happened in 24 hours, okay, but no, I talked to multiple sources on the ground that said, no, there were still flights being canceled. We were still basically hauled up in our hotels. We had one of the guests on the show. So now even she's getting a little sloppy. You can't, man. But then it gets even funnier here.
I live here also and moved here for the winter. Tourists were injured. No civilians were injured. This was an act of retaliation between the cartel and the government.
Tourists were injured. Locals were injured. It was an act between the cartel and the government. And she's acting like, oh, it's just normal. No big deal. It's like, well, actually, that is still kind of a big deal.
Because one of the cartel leaders were killed. So the cartel went and burnt a bunch of vehicles. They actually pulled people out of the vehicles before burning them and also lit some stores on fire.
Oh, okay. So it's all good. Oh, they burned a bunch of stores and vehicles, but they pulled people out first. Like, okay, this is not good.
That was it.
That was it. That was it.
Crazy shit happens like this all over the world. That is much worse.
I can't. All right. So she corrects the record on the video, and then she kind of slings her own slop there at the end. But there you go. There you go. All right. You may have heard of this one. Multi-millionaire Squatty Potty creator arrested in Utah for buying CP, cheese pizza, which of course is code word for child materials. Trying to buy it. Robert Edwards, 50, was arrested for allegedly buying and receiving a trove of images of child sexual assault abuse material between March 2021 and November 2025. The U.S. Attorney's Office in the District of Utah announced Monday the entrepreneur and co-founder of the specialized toilet stool that's designed to ease bowel movements was indicted by a federal grand jury on February 10th and cuffed in Washington County 2 days later. All right. Well, you may have seen this, but there's a clip surfacing. So he was on the show, I think it's called Shark Tank with Mark Cuban and a couple others. Yeah, Shark Tank. He was on that show. I want to fast forward here to a specific part of this show. Listen to what one of the ladies says. Listen to what one of the ladies says about him in his presentation or after it.
Okay. There's something about you that I'm not believing.
Oh. I'm
No, I trust your mom.
Oh,
You're
no.
hopping and weaving a lot, I feel. And it's making me more nervous as I listen. I'm definitely out.
Sometimes you just trust your instinct. Sometimes your instincts just tell you. What was the Squatty Potty really all about, too? You know? What was it really about there? It's a little strange, isn't it? All right, guys, I'm a little confused here. And instead of, what is the deal? So Eileen Gu and Alicia Liu are still in the news. Designer babies. Now, I'm wondering, this is like straight out of the movie Gattaca. How much of this is going on? Designer babies. How many babies are designer babies? Now, let's say, for example, we find out that there's something going on where you can either have an enhanced baby with a vaccine and agree to some secret program, and then you get, a super athlete or a super genius, and some exclusive people get access to this and you don't. Or you can design a baby for whatever, super smart, super size, whatever it is. Maybe this is already going on. Would that be an unfair advantage? Would that be an illegal advantage? Is that something that everybody should know about? Is that what are we talking about here? Eileen is the product of a single Chinese mother with a white sperm donor. Okay, so I couldn't understand how that can work. Alyssa is a product of a single Chinese father and a white egg donor. How does that work? I don't want to look into it. I tell you, I don't want to look into it. But I'm just so confused. How does this deal work? It's all very strange to me. This concept of designer babies, custom babies, vaccines to make superhuman. I don't like it. I have to say, I don't like it. And if it's going to happen, there has to be, it's kind of like steroids in athletics. It's like nowadays it's recognized the unfair advantage you get. Nowadays, you can't use steroids. You can't use steroids in sports because the unfair advantage you get as an athlete. So they ban steroids. Well, isn't this like steroids? Isn't this like steroids, but just in the broad spectrum of civilization? So, I mean, what are we doing? What are we talking about here? I don't doubt for 1 second, especially now after what we've seen in the Epstein files and what we've seen from other declassified CIA files, I don't doubt for 1 second that there are exclusive special vaccines that can, and there's probably a risk that comes with it. I mean, maybe it's not a mastered thing yet, but I guarantee you, there is already some sort of a vaccine that can make your baby a superhuman. And I'm not talking about they can fly or have laser eyes or whatever like we see in the popular show The Boys, which just announced their final season coming up soon. But no, I bet you can have a vaccine that can enhance a baby's IQ, enhance a baby's size, athletic ability, whatever. I don't doubt for 1 second that this is already going on. Not for 1 second. The question is just how much out there, how much of these vaccines are out there, how many people have used them, have they mastered it, what are the risks that come with it? But I don't doubt for 1 second they exist. Now, whether or not this is floating around in the general public or not, whether or not this is anything we've seen, I don't know. But based off the stuff we've seen, 100% this is going on. 100% this is going on. Now, what if it is out there? What if it is out there in the general population? What if there already are people that are souped up by these vaccines out there that get an unfair advantage on the rest of us? Well, what do we think about that? Shouldn't we have a discussion about that? Should everybody get access to that? Or is it just going to be for the elites? Is it just going to be for the elites to have access to this stuff to make their kids super, and then you can never compete? And then by the end of this trend, guess what? I think we all see where that goes. But what about these designer babies? And I think with the designer babies, I think with the IVF, it's that's a tough one. I'm not really big into this. And I don't really like even looking into it for this reason. But part of me says this is kind of just nature. Part of me says this is nature, and we're going against nature in a very inorganic, unnatural way with IVF and these designer babies. And part of me says, I don't like it. I don't like it. Now, another part of me says, if there are people out there that for whatever reason can't have kids, and you can give them that ability and that gift of having a child, maybe the best thing in life, then, do we want to deny people that? So I kind of see both sides of it, and I'm not really too heavy on either side, and that's why I don't talk about it too often. But I'm looking at it now, and I'm just saying, you know what? Maybe it's time to have the discussion. Maybe it's time to really have the discussion, and whether it comes from a moral perspective, a Christian ethos, or hey, hold on, what are we talking about here with designer babies? What are we talking about with vaccines that can make somebody superhuman here? Is this already going on? Who's getting access to this? Could people be cutting deals behind the scenes? And yeah, we know that the CIA puts little things into TV shows, puts little things into movies to kind of like soften the blow, or to like create a smoke screen that, oh, that just happens in movies. It's not real life. But that is the main plot of the TV show, The Boys. These parents, they cut deals and they give their child the superhuman vaccines, and nobody ever knows Obviously, it's NDAs. They don't tell the kids. They say, oh, it's just magic. How much of that actually goes on? How much of this is going on? How many designer babies are out there? How many souped up vaccines have been given to kids out there that nobody knows about? Fair question. Fair conversation. Maybe overdue. We go back in time. This is from 1990. I don't know if you could do something like this these days, although maybe. 1990 SNL sketch making fun of the concept of trans. You know, what's so crazy about that? It obviously was universally understood. It wasn't even really a topic that this concept of genital mutilation or transgender was not natural and quite frankly, horrific and psychotic, specifically when it's dealing with kids. As you can see reflected in that 1990s SNL skit. And now they tried to normalize it. They tried to make it normal and sell it as a political issue. It has to be. You know, there's things that I think, depending on where history goes, there's things that will go down in the history textbook and say one thing or the other. But I feel like this is one where, you know, childhood genital mutilation, whatever, you go to a doctor to mutilate your body when you're an adult. I don't know. I mean, we don't have to like it, but it's one thing. It's one thing to do it when you're of sound mind or whatever. You can make a decision as an adult. When it comes to children and childhood genital mutilation, chemical mutilation, castration, that has to go down as one of the most wicked evils that has ever been on this earth. I mean, that has to go down. And we've seen the images and we've heard the stories. I don't see how that doesn't go down as one of the most wicked, evil, and diabolical things that we've ever witnessed in modern human history. Chemical castration and genital mutilation of children. It's so unbelievable that we even had it for a moment in time. It's so unbelievable that it's a concept that is still thought about or practiced. Honestly. How in the hell did we get here? How in the hell did that happen? That's wild. All right. So there was a big snowstorm in New York. I think they got over a foot. And there was a new policy or agenda in the city. This was a Mamdani proposal, and he followed through with it. The city hired people to shovel the streets. Listen to this success story here, and then I'm gonna tie this into a larger example. Use this small example to a larger example. Listen to this.
Mayor Mamdani stepped to the front. Do y'all see how clear the sidewalks are? That $30 per hour shoveling thing, yeah, that was genius. That was genius. I just saw a bunch of people with shovels walking around. They got the little vests on. Now, that needs to be part of the Blizzard protocol every single time. And I'm not going to say that the New York government is doing anything for real, but they ate that one little thing. Mayor Mamdani stepped to the front. Do y'all see how clear?
So they have a plan, and they say, why not give New Yorkers, New York City residents who want the job, $30 an hour. We just got a foot plus of snow. We'll put these jobs out there. First come, first serve, $30 an hour. Shovel the sidewalks. Let's get them clean. Let's pay the residents, and everybody wins. Total success story. Total success story. Now, that's like a little, it's kind of a small success story, but yet there it is. And for the people of New York City, probably meant a lot. Probably something that they noticed and said, wow, this is nice. So that's like a tiny little sliver of what could be potentially happening in the entire country. And this is why the foreign aid and the foreign interventions and conflicts drives me crazy. We spend trillions of dollars overseas, folks, on interests that aren't even ours. So whether it's $30 an hour for an American to shovel snow off a sidewalk, get some cash in their pockets and clean the streets, or whether it's, maybe a job in construction, highway construction, road repairs, whatever, $120 an hour. Do you understand how great our country could be? This is what I'm saying. I'm no socialist. I'm no big government socialist. But let's just be perfectly clear. Who wouldn't rather have directed $5 trillion in the last 30 years? $5 trillion since the turn of the 21st century. And that number could be low. $5 trillion spent overseas on foreign wars and foreign interests. Can you imagine what we could have done with $5 trillion if that was invested in America and Americans? How often do you, this is really bad in Austin, how often do you drive down a road, a highway, it's a construction site, it's down to one lane, massive traffic, and nobody's working? Do you know where that doesn't happen? China. Again, this is no endorsement of China. This is no endorsement of the Chinese communist here. This is just a matter of fact. When they start a highway project, they literally don't stop until it's done. Literally. In America, in Austin here, we got projects. They take 10 years, 15 years. Highway 35, anybody in Texas, but anybody in Austin or anybody in Dallas will tell you, Highway 35 is hell. If there's a highway in America that's hell, that's not in California or New York or maybe DC, it's Highway 35 in Texas. This thing is hell. Right now in Austin, it's the main thoroughfare in Austin, and they've got it down to 2 lanes all day long. And it's all this construction, and nobody's working. Nobody. And I'm driving around, I'm like, what the hell goes on here? We shut down the main highway for construction, and then there's no construction, and these projects take 10 years. Imagine what we could do. Imagine what we could do. We just spent $350 billion in Ukraine. You're telling me an American wouldn't sign up to get the training and to become a construction worker for $100, $120, $150 an hour? Abso-damn-lutely they would. People are lying. People are so desperate financially in this country. You've got old men that are driving DoorDash. You've got old men with families that are doing Uber, doing ride shares. What are they making? $19, $20 an hour? You're telling me that they wouldn't get the training and go work construction for $100+ an hour? And we could easily afford all of it if we stopped spending money overseas. We could afford all of it. And then we could actually get things done in this country. You could actually get things done in this country. Here's an example. I have watched Austin, maybe an extreme example, but here in Austin, I've lived in Austin for 10 years. I have watched 5, 6 massive skyscrapers go up in Austin, Texas. In fact, I think the 4 of the 5 largest skyscrapers in Austin were built in the last 10 years. They just completed another one. And yet, the same highway projects have not been finished in 10 years. We can't even build a road in 10 years in this country. Can't even build a road in 10 years in Austin, Texas. But I can sit here and watch 10 skyscrapers go up in a matter of months. Abso-freaking-lutely. Abso-freaking-lutely. with $5 trillion that we have spent overseas since the turn of the 21st century, we could easily be paying people to work in this country $100, $200, $500 an hour to actually build this country. How many people would take a job for $50 an hour to just go clean trash off the streets, go clean trash out of the waterways? People volunteer to do it. We could be paying them $50 an hour to keep our cities clean. Instead, because our Congress is a bunch of political whores, and because Washington, D.C. is a bunch of political whores that sell us out and they send all of our money overseas for foreign interests, we don't get that. And just look at what happened. $30 an hour. And they were able to hire people to shovel snow and get all the snow off of the sidewalks and the walkways in one night. In one night. And how embarrassing. By the way, all these right-wingers, all the American patriots that trash Mom Donnie all the time, he just showed all of you up. All of you right-wingers that support all the foreign aid, all of you right-wingers that support all the foreign wars, all of you right-wingers that don't say a damn thing about the foreign interests that own our government and enslave us, all you right-wingers that don't say a damn word about that, but you'll sit here and trash Mom Donnie all day long, and in one simple project, he was able to actually take public money and turn it into something good for the city, something the right wing has no idea about. Couldn't even find it with both hands because they're so sold out and propagandized by foreign interests. So I have a dream. How about that? I have a dream. I have a dream where the United States of American taxpayers are no longer enslaved by foreign and special interests. I have a dream where no more do American dollars go every single place on the planet to the tunes of hundreds of billions of dollars annually, and yet we can't even build highways, we can't even build roads, we can't even clean up our cities, our streets. No, I have a dream where we actually invest in our own country. I have a dream where Washington, D.C. isn't the most corrupt part of the entire world that sells us out. I have a dream where our money actually builds our country and makes our country great again. That's my dream. And you just got a tiny little snowflake of it in New York City with a simple snow shoveling program. Imagine that scaled out to highways, roads, cities, everything. Imagine it. You could be hiring people $50, $60 an hour, pay them to just clean up trash. You won't have trash everywhere. Pay them to clean up the waterways. Won't have trash everywhere in the water. Pay them to build highways, build roads. You won't be dealing with 10-year-long projects of construction where 90% of the time you drive by it and nobody's working. We could actually build our country. We could actually have the greatest country on earth again, not just a slush fund for corruption and foreign and special interests. That's my dream. That's what I want to see in my lifetime. That's what I believe we can accomplish. That's the vision. That's the vision right there. And it's so obvious. It's so it's sitting right there in front of us. It's within our grasp. But let's see it. I can't wait. I can't wait. And really, this is why people want to see the neocons. This is why people have become accelerationists, and they're cheering for the collapse of the neocons, and they're going to sit on the sidelines and let the radical left take over for at least one election cycle, God forbid two. This is why right here. Because until we get these neocons off our backs, until we get the foreign interest and the special interest and the neocons out of actual nationalist policies, we'll never be able to do this. We will never be able to do this. And that's why people have become accelerationists. That's why people are cheering for the complete destruction of the Republican Party establishment as it is and Con Inc. as it is. Because until we get them off our back and out of our movement, we will never be able to accomplish this. And it's like you just saw it. It's like we were just there. This is what's supposed to be happening with this administration. This was the dream. This was the vision. This was the ideology that we were supposed to be getting with Trump. And here come the neocons, and they wrecked it all again. And they destroyed it all again. And now you get more foreign wars, more foreign aid, and you can't even build a highway. So that's why they're cheering for it, because everybody sees it. Everybody has the vision. And that's why I say, I just hope there's a country left in 2030. I just hope these people haven't looted and destroyed this country, that there's something left for us in 2030. But it looks like that's what they're going for. It looks like that's what they're going for. They're just going to loot and just steal everything they can from this country, and they don't give a damn what they leave us. They don't give a damn. They're going to take it all and leave us with nothing. I just hope we have something to save this country with in 2030. By the way, it looks like more evidence of heavy metals all over the place. Somebody noticed that their pool had turned green after the snow.
We got 10 inches of snow and 3 inches of ice, and the pool turned green. So now I'm going to put some metal reducer in the pool and see if that helps. Two minutes after I put the metal reducer in the pool. Here's what 5 minutes looks like. After 10 minutes, it looks like this. Why are they spraying metal in the air? What benefit other than geoengineering the weather is there to poisoning the people of America?
Can you imagine? Can you imagine when we take this world, when we take our country back from these monsters, these satanic, demonic monsters that are literally poisoning our sky, poisoning our air, our water, our soil, our bodies, our minds? They hate you. They literally want you dead. Imagine when we take our country, imagine when we take our planet back from people that literally want you dead. Tell you, that's why I say we don't even know. We don't even know what freedom is like. We don't even know what freedom and prosperity is like. We think we do. We have no idea. We have no idea. All right. Let's close out the show with our super chats for the day. We are light on the super chats today, guys, so this shouldn't take too long. Welcome to Electric Boogaloo. AI prophecy is demonic prophecy. One world, the singularity, mark of the beast. That's where it's going. Big Mike, I like honoring all of the Americans and their families. I just think the State of the Union is not the right place. That's kind of all it was, to be honest. Yeah, that was kind of another takeaway I had in the end, too. It just kind of became this ceremony, and that's not really what the State of the Union is all about. But, you know, Trump, he Trumpified it up. And they needed a morale booster badly because the administration has been such a disappointment. So that's what happened. Iran deleted 6 million protesters. Dust Vault. You know, we keep getting different numbers. First they said 100,000. That was obviously a lie. Then they said 50,000. That was obviously a lie. Then they say 32,000. And now the real number looks like maybe 2,000, 3,000. My question is, where's the evidence? I'm not denying it happened. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. I don't know. Where's the evidence? I've got all the evidence of what Israel did in the Gaza Strip. I've got all the evidence of what Israel did in Palestine. Everybody knows what they did. There's so much evidence of that, it's overwhelming. And yet we have nothing on the Iran situation, even though the CIA and Mossad were there on the ground. If it doesn't add up, you know it's corrupt. Ken Rose, thank you, Ken. Tay, JJ. Were you at the Fishback rally last night? Fishback was at Florida State, or he was at some college campus today? He's on the ground. He's active. CDYV. Hi, Owen. Been watching for years. 26-year-old welder in Missouri, around your old stomping grounds. I want to get involved in politics, but news, media / podcast seems saturated, and I'd be of no use there. How would you start as a newbie? I get this question all the time. You should know this as a longtime listener. I get this question all the time. And my response is maybe not what you want to hear, but this is always the same response. The fact that you're asking the question means that you're already on the right path. The fact that you're asking that question, whether it's of me or yourself or somebody else, it shows that you're already on the right path. Now, for me, when I started to ask that question, the answer was obvious. I was already in media. I was already on the radio, TV, everything. So the answer for me was obvious. Just get out of sports, get out of entertainment, and do politics, do news. So it was an obvious answer for me. For you, though, it might not be so obvious. For you, the answer could be something else. And the truth is, I don't have it. I don't know the answer other than you are the answer. The fact that you're asking the question says that you're already on the right path, but only you can really answer that question. And maybe the answer doesn't come immediately. Maybe the answer isn't something that's right in front of you. Maybe eventually you'll understand it. Maybe eventually an opportunity will present itself. But I can't answer the question for every person that asks it. Only you can answer that question. And that's just the truth. I could tell you, well, do this, do that, do the other thing, but that's really, you're the answer. You're the answer as far as what direction you go. That's got to be on you. So I would say, maybe be patient. See what comes to your mind, but just not being fooled by the propaganda is like the first step. The awakening, the enlightenment is kind of the first step, and the fact that you're asking the question means that you're already on the right path, as I see it. So good to hear from somebody from my old stomping grounds. Jordan Walker, don't count out a Candace Tucker ticket pull. Would Candace run? I could see Candace running just to really piss everyone off. I could see Candace Owens launching a presidential campaign just to really anger everybody. I'm telling you, people, they really underestimate what the Gen X and millennials have in store. I'm telling you. And the right wing, we already kind of saw the struggle session on the left wing. It looks like the left wing is finally laying down. And maybe the establishment left as we know it has like 4 more years left of any life, but it's on life support. And so that's why they're going Democrat socialist. That's why they're going radical left. We all see it. But I'm telling you, what the right's answer for that is going to be, it's going to be a James Fishback. It's going to be a Tucker Carlson. It's going to be a Candace Owens. It's going to be a Nick Fuentes. That's where the right is going. So that's why you see the current neocon right, Zionist right, clinging to this power, berating and bashing anybody that threatens them, because they know where it's going. They see where it's going. So they're trying to destroy everything and steal everything before they completely lose power. Honestly, to a certain degree, you have to be honest. To a certain degree, the neocon right is actually more corrupt than the liberal left. And you could make the argument the liberal left is unpatriotic and way more demonic as far as policy and culture is concerned. But as far as corruption, the neocon right, I think, is worse. I do. I really do. That's what's so shameful about what this administration has become. And that's how they get it over on you, because the left is unpatriotic. The left is demonic with some of their culture and policy. And so that's how the neocons get one over on you by, we're the patriots. So then they just come in and they're just the biggest thieves, biggest con artists, biggest warmongers. That's how they get one over on you. But they know what's coming. They see what's coming when Gen X and the millennials and younger starts to get their way, starts to come of age. They know it. And they know we're looking right at them. We don't draw political lines as far as corruption is concerned. We're looking right at them. And now we know exactly who they all are. Jordan's Bentleys, thank you. Ken Rose agrees. And I don't do the generational warfare stuff. You know that. I just call it as I see it. That's just how it's going down. And it's totally inevitable. But that's why I think the current neocon establishment is maybe more corrupt now than it's ever been, because they see where it's all going. And that's why they're trying to steal as much as possible and lay down as much policy as possible to protect their agenda and protect themselves when they finally lose power. And it's disgusting. It's disgusting that Trump is decided to be the catalyst of all of this. And that's what it is. Absolutely, 100%. All right, a couple odds and ends before we sign off here. Maybe we go into some leftovers. How about this? Well, how about this? Let's do it this way. This is where the reckoning is going to be. This is what right-wingers are sick of. This is what millennials are sick of. This is what the Zoomers are sick of. This is what Gen X is sick of. That on the right, oh, you're a Christian, you're a conservative, so somehow that means that you have to be loyal to Israel and foreign interests and foreign affairs that you want nothing to do with and don't benefit you. Watch this crazy segment. This is the type of beratement that we are sick of from the Zionists.
You go to any church or government building, the cornerstone is most often visible. It's not usually buried in some dark subterranean corner of the foundation, never to be seen. It is the stone from which the building springs upward. There can be no doubt, however, that the building that became Western political thought and therefore the free world was built on a foundation of Judaism. Without millennia of Jewish faith and struggle, there is no Christianity. The foundation is an often unseen and much smaller component of the building structure, but it is nonetheless completely indispensable. After thousands of years of war and diaspora, Israel represents the enduring presence of Jews in the Holy Land and the protection of that biblical history. Communists and Islamists understand the critical nature of Jews and Judaism to human society. It's fundamental. That's why they attack Judaism, not just Israel, and they want.
This is pure propaganda, and it's not biblical in its base either. You see, Christ rewrote the covenant. That was the entire purpose. There was no chosen people. There was no Israel people. Everyone was God's people through Christ now. That's the new covenant through Christ. But aside from this, this is what the Zionists love to do. This is how the Zionists keep the right-wingers as their slaves politically. They tell you the communists are your enemy. They tell you the Muslims are your enemy. They stage false flags to keep you in that grip. Nobody's falling for this anymore, and it's offensive. This is offensive to American patriots. It's offensive to Christians. We're done. All you're doing is making it worse. All you're doing with this type of stuff is making it worse. This is from Chris Ruddy's Newsmax. And, well, you can look up Chris Ruddy for yourself and understand. And then there's Netanyahu saying the same thing. I mean, it's insulting to your heritage. It's insulting to your lineage. It's insulting to you. Oh, you wouldn't exist if it wasn't for Israel. You wouldn't exist if it wasn't for Jewish people.
I said, Mike, that we are fighting today the battle that the Maccabees fought. They fought for the survival of the Jewish people and the Jewish faith against an enemy that wanted to extinguish us, wipe us out from the face of the earth. We were fighting our battle, but we were also fighting the battle of civilization, because our civilization is based on the Judeo-Christian tradition. And if the Maccabees had failed, there'd be no Judaism. There would be no Judeo-Christian civilization. There would be no Maccabees. There would be no United States. There wouldn't be the civilization of freedom, the respect for our common traditions.
You're nothing without me. Oh, I'm sick of hearing that. I'm sick of hearing that about my country. I'm sick of hearing that about Christians. I'm sick of hearing that. You're nothing without me. Then why are you here taking my money? Then why are you here using my military for your interests? If I'm nothing without you, then why are you here sucking off me like a parasite and a leech? Seems like you're actually nothing without us, and that's why you're so desperate to keep us on this plantation of supporting your very existence. What would happen to Israel without the United States? And I'm not saying I want that to happen, but we all know. And that's why Israel has their Samson option. And that's why Israel has their Jericho missiles. And that's why Israel has Netanyahu and Levin and the rest of them keeping you on the right with the neocons as a slave to foreign interests. It's over. Done. This is your guys' last ride. This is it. This is your last ride. And I'm just, I guess, asking you nicely, can you just not steal everything? Can you just not destroy everything? Like, you guys got it. You bought all the whores in Congress. You bought all the whores in the media. We get it. You did it. I recognize that. Congratulations. You guys did it. You stole all of our money. You bought our politicians. You bought our media. All right. Good job. You did it. I recognize it. But this is it. This is your last ride. So what's best for all of us is just, let go and leave us with something, please. Because you all see where it's going. You all see where it's going. And this is why you're trying to build the new AI surveillance state to protect yourselves. But, humanity has a way. Humanity has a way of breaking free. And I guess if you want to bet against humanity, so be it. Hoss 88 from Canada. Well, that's what they fear. And I'm not even, to me, it's not about some alliance between one theology or the next. To me, it's about ending corruption and ending modern day political slavery. Taxation is theft. And nowadays, taxation is slavery. That's what I'm all about ending. And I don't think it matters what background you're from. I don't think it matters what theology you believe in. I don't think it matters your skin color, any of that. You can talk about trends. You can talk about, what do they say with crime statistics? They say, oh, well, more white people commit crimes than black people. Yeah, well, that's not an accurate measurement. So you can talk about all the different stuff. To me, you have people that want freedom and want honesty and want to be in control of their destiny and want to free the planet from these monsters that currently run it. And then you have people that are asleep and don't know what's going on. And then you have the people that are part of it and want to be a part of it. And we're fighting over that group in the middle. So that's where I see us right now. It's an epic battle, isn't it? It's an epic time to be alive. This is the battle for the future of humanity. We all see it. We all feel it. And I'm just glad to be here on Team Humanity with you. I'm just glad to be here on Team Humanity and Team Freedom with you. And it's an honor to have you here, too. And we thank you for being here. All right. That does it for the Owen Report today. We'll take a 21-hour break. Busy day tomorrow. Going on Church and State at, what time is that? 1 o'clock tomorrow or something? Yeah, I think 1 o'clock tomorrow on a guest on Church and State. And then we got an extended Owen Report tomorrow as well. Thanks, Adoob. So busy day tomorrow. Signing off for today. God bless. Godspeed.